would like to explain about the backgrounds. The first one is about biography of the elder, Anne Petrie. She was born on October 12, 1998 in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, a small, quiet city in New England, United States of America. And she passed away there on April 28, 1997. She grew up in a family of pharmacists, graduated with a pharmacy degree from the University of Connecticut in 1931, and worked in her family's pharmacy before moving to New York City in 1938 to become a writer. As a novelist, journalist, and biographer, she brought a unique perspective on Black life in America, focusing on the mental and social challenges faced by Black communities. The second is reason for writing of the author, Anne Petrie. She wrote like a winding sheet is to show how racism faced by Black men, especially at work, it can build up into frustration and anger. Through the character Johnson, Petrie shows how daily discrimination affects people's emotion and can create problems in relationship at home. And the third is popularity. The author Anne Petrie became known as an African American author who has stories showed the struggles and strength of Black people. After publishing her novel The Street in 1946, which sold over 1 million copies, she became very popular. Her short stories, like a winding sheet, also helped build her reputation, as readers connected with her honest portrayal of racism effects on mental health. Petrie's long-lasting popularity comes not only from her skills as a writer, but also from her dedication to showing real social issues and Black experiences. Her works are still important in American literature today.
Hello everyone, today I will discuss about the story from Anne Petrie, just like a winding sheet, and I will discuss about the plot and summary of the story, and I also will discuss about major characters. I will also discuss about the themes and also the value of the story, and we will start with the plot and summary of the story. This summary starts when Johnson, an African American man, woke up in the afternoon hearing the sound of water inside the bathroom from her wife that are taking a shower, and then after a few moments his wife May finish her shower, and then they start to have a conversation showing compassion and love to each other. And then May tease Johnson playfully that she said that Johnson looked like a winding sheet because Johnson covered himself with a blanket refusing to wake up because he is very lazy to go to work. And then both of them continue to prepare for go work for each other. They go to the factory in the same day, so they prepare. And then after some preparation, they have breakfast together, and in breakfast they have some conversation. And then Johnson started to complain about the cramps and the pain that he felt in his leg because the work that he do are very heavy, are very exhausting at the plants. And after a few moments of complaining, May check at the date, and then she sees that the date is Friday the 13th, and she refused to went to work. But Johnson argues that May still need to go to work. She still need to went outside the house because it is the payday and nothing bad happens in payday. That is what Johnson said, and then they argue about 15 minutes. But of course Johnson talk to May very persuasively, softly, and also gently, because Johnson wouldn't talk to a woman very roughly and even lay a finger do something bad to a woman. He couldn't do that because he is not a type of a man that would do that. He is different from other men. He is not a type of a man that would do that. And then after some arguing, he of course arrived late at his plans, and this is the part where the first conflicts happen. The first conflicts happen at the plants in the factory that Johnson worked. When he started to work, at his shift, which is very exhausting and very stressful for him because it caused pain, it caused cramps in his leg, but still he need to do that because that is the payday and he need the payment. And after a few moments of working on his shift, Mrs. Scott saw him. Mrs. Scott is the supervisor of Johnson, and then Mrs. Scott calls Johnson, and Johnson went to Mrs. Scott, and then Mrs. Scott to start to accuse Johnson because Johnson arrived late at the plants. But Johnson gave an excuse that he is late because the cramps and the pain that he felt in his leg. But Mrs. Scott doesn't really care about the excuse from Johnson, but even he started to disrespect Johnson more, accuse Johnson more, that he said Johnson using pronunciation boy, and also he said the N word, which is niggers. Johnson started to feel the urge of anger inside him, that he really want to punch Mrs. Scott so bad that he even feels that urge in the tip of his finger. He really want to punch the woman in front of him so bad because Mrs. Scott disrespect him using that N word. But because he is a very gentle person, he's a very gentleman, he wouldn't lay a single finger on a woman. He hold the anger inside him, just like winding shit. But I wouldn't discuss about it right now. But he held the anger inside him. And then he went to work again. He started to work again. He tried to not bother about Mrs. Scott saying him the N-word. And then many of his co-workers, his white co-workers in the plants, in the factory, are also discriminate him. But again, he tried to hold it. He tried to not think about it. He tried not to bother about it. And after the long day of work, the long day of shift that he do on that day, he finally finishes shift and then start to get the payment. And the next, we will continue to the next setting of the story, which is the train. And then he went out from the cafe on, he continued his way home. He used train, and then inside the train he doesn't get any seat, so he stood up. He felt the cramps and pain inside his leg, but he tried to not bother that pain. He think about that pain is caused by the anger and the urge that he felt before. And after a few moments, he arrives at his house, and then inside his house, he sees that May are already arrived earlier than him, and then they started a little conversation between both of them. And May sees that Johnson looking very stressed and pressed by the days that he had doing. So May tried to cheer Johnson up, and after a few moments, May unintendedly said one of the racial expression, the N-word, and at that moment Johnson couldn't control himself, so he started to feel the urge. He couldn't hold the urge anymore. He started to strike May in the face. He started to beaten up May because he couldn't control himself anymore. And then I want to discuss about the symbol of a winding sheet in the story. We could see that Johnson is just like a winding sheet. He is entrapped, wrapped up inside the racial society, inside the urge that he felt along the story. And then in the end, he couldn't control himself anymore, doing violence to his own wife. And then we could also see in the story that there are some foreshadowing at the story. May mention about Johnson looking like a winding sheet, which is depict what will happen in the story. And then the next is we could see that May, when she looked at the date, she saw Friday the 13th, she refused to went out the house because in West culture, Friday the 13th shows at a bad day, something bad will happen at you at the day. And yes, it is really happened to me. We will continue to the major character. Okay, I will continue with the discussion of the major character from the story. There are three major characters that I highlighted from the story. The first is Johnson. He is the main character. In the start of the story, he depicted as a gentleman who wouldn't hurt a woman, who wouldn't talk properly to a woman.
and he also shown as a hardworking man that even though he felt cramp and pain in his leg, he still went to work. He does not skip his work. And then as the story goes on, he gets some character development in the story, turning him into a person in the end of the story who beaten his own wife possibly until death. And I think Johnson had a very interesting character development inside this story. And then the next character is May. May is Johnson's wife. She is a person with a playful and cheerful personality that we could see that May always want to cheer Johnson up, but unfortunately, in the end of the story, she unintendedly provoked Johnson's anger by using the racial expression, the N words, and she got beaten up by his own husband. And the last is Mrs. Scott. We could see Mrs. Scott depicted as a mean and an ignorant person, that she doesn't care about Johnson's condition, that Johnson felt cramp and pain in his leg. She doesn't really care about it, and she is an image of a racial society that we could see inside the story. And then we will continue about the theme of the story. The theme of the story, the first theme is, of course, racism and the oppression system. We could see by reading the point of view of Johnson, he experienced a lot of racism inside the story and oppression. And we could see how that oppression and racist society influenced him to the psychological impact. And it continued to the next theme of the story. It is violence that we could see in the story, that from the psychological impact that he felt, ending him to do such a violent thing to her closest people, which is May, his own wife. And the last theme of the story, I could see that this story shown the power of language and words, how a words, a racial expression, a language could impact on someone's life so powerful that it could ruin a person's life. And the next, we would continue to the values that I got from the story when I read it. The first is, as a language learner, when I read this, I could know that language, or the way we talk, the way we use our words, could really influence others' life, could really influence the society. But we must use it very carefully. We must aware of the power of it. Don't be like Mrs. Scott that use his words to accuse people, to do bad thing. We must do it for bring a better chance, to bring a better society. Don't be like Mrs. Scott, yes? No. And the next value, which is I forgot before, the next value is we must manage our emotion. We must control our emotion, and especially in the story, it is anger, because when we couldn't control our emotion, it could lead us to do some bad thing, some violence thing that could hurt people around us, people that are close to us, just like Johnson. We must be mature, bro. Don't make your emotion controls you. Fourth value of the story is stop racism, bro. Don't do racist thing. Stop racist. No, I know that we have some different skin colors, different accent, but don't do racist. Don't be racist, people. Don't be like Mrs. Scott, bro. Unity in diversity. Stop racism. No.